Hello, I want to go over this LeetCode problem where it's the baseball game. So we have a string of operations, a vector string of operations. We have an integer x which we want to pass into a vector and store that score. If we come across a plus, we want to add the previous two scores together. If we come across a d, we want to multiply by 2 the previous score, so double the previous score. And if we come across a c, we remove the previous score from like the scores vector. So in this case that we have here, operations is equal to 5 to c, d, and plus. Our output should be 30. So what happens here is we pass in 5, we then pass in 2 because they're not like the operands of c, d, and plus. When we come across the c, we invalidate the previous score, which is 2, so we just remove it from our score. So we're just left with 5. We then come across D, which multiplies 5 times 2, since that's our previous score now. We get 10, and then we pass that into the scores vector. So now we have 5 and 10. We come across a plus symbol, and then that make we come across the plus symbol, which sums up the previous two scores, which is now 5 and 10, and we get 15, and then we add that into the scores vector, getting 30. So here in my example, I've already got the operands of the same problem right here, and I created a string vector called new points, um, a integer vector called points, and then a game sum uh, initialized to 0. These two are going to come. We're going to use these later, but let's just start off with just these two right here. So we're going to create a for loop to iterate through the whole operations um, elements, so the amount of elements in operation. So for in I is equal to 0, I is less than operations at array I. Oh, sorry, that's I dot size I plus plus. Um, so we're going to handle our first case, which is a C. So if operations at array I equals the string character C, what we want to do is we want to remove the previous element within the new points vector. So what we say here is new points dot erase um, new points dot end minus 1. So what this is saying is, just for an example, if we had our new points to be equal to the string character or the string vector of 1, 2, and 3. So these aren't integers, these are strings. What we're going to say is we're going to, starting off with the inside here, we're going to go to the new points dot end. So what end means is we're going to go to one space after where this vector ends, and we say minus 1, which means go back one more space. So we end up an imaginary space after the new points vector. So we end up in um, quote unquote the fourth index, and then minus 1, and we come to this, which brings us to the third index, and we just subtract it. So that's what this means, and just erase it from the um, vector. After that, we want to continue. So skip over and then move on, skip over C and then move on to the um, next element within our string vector. So let me say else if operations at array I is equal to the string character D. What we want to do is we want to get the previous element in the vector. So what I did was I said new int is equal to new points dot back. Or sorry, I come first off, since this is strings, we have to convert them in order to do arithmetic on it. We have to convert them into integers. So I called in this function string to int, and I said then I said new points dot back within this. So what this does is this comes to the back of the new points vector, which is 3. So now But since this is a string still, 3 is still technically a string, we use the string to int function right here, and we convert it into an integer, and then we pass it into new int. So now new int is holding 3, and then all we do here is new int times equals 2. So we multiply it by 2. So now new int is holding 6. And then we want to push this back into the new points vector. So new points dot back, push back. Let me comment this out. Push back std to string. So now we want to convert new int back into a string, to string new int. So now this converts new int, which is 6 in our example, back to a string, and then we push it back into new points. So now we have 6 right here. And then like the previous case, we want to continue after that. And on to our last check, else if operations at array I is equal to plus symbol. What we do here is we we want to add the previous two elements together, which is 3 and 6. So here I created again 2 integers now. So we're just going to call it int1 is equal to new points dot pushback. Oh no, sorry, not dot pushback. Dot back. Oh, and then we have to convert this into a string, into an integer again. Sorry, because it's still a string. Can't put a string to an integer, so we call in the string to int function again. So now in this example, int1 is holding the very last element in the new points vector, which is 6, and then int2 is equal to stoi new points at the array index. What was it? I think it was new points dot size. So the size of of our current vector minus 2. So what this does here is, as you can see here, we come to new points. So new points' size is equal to 4 because we have 4 elements, 4. And then, so new points right here dot size is 4. And then since we want to get the last two, the second to last element, we just say minus 2. Minus 2. This gives us 2. Uh-oh. So this gives us 2. And now we're going to say new points at array right here. All of this whole chunk of code right here just says, essentially just means at array index 2. So new points at array index 2. New points array index 2, like that. Which then we come to here. This is 0th index, first index, second index right here. This one, 3. So now int2 is holding 3. So if we had like more numbers, we would do we'd come here again, new points dot size to get if we wanted to get this element right here, 7. And so okay, so int1 right here again, new points dot back would be 8. Int2 would be new points at array index new points dot size minus 2, which we come to here, new points dot size is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6. Yeah, 6. 6. So the size, which is 6 minus 2, which gives us 4, which then gives us oh sorry, I'm geeking. 2, which then gives us 4. So the array index at 4, not 5, 4, which we come here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So now int2 is holding 7. And now here we could just add these together into one of these values right here, but I decided to create a sum variable, int1 plus int2. So now sum is holding the sum of, in this example, 8 and 7, which is 15. And then we say new points. We want to push this value back, the sum value back into new points vector. So new points is not pushback, not popback, pushback dot pushback std to string because we want to convert sum to a string to string sum. So now this converts the sum, which is 15, to a string, and then we pass it into the vector. So this is our new score. And then, like the other two, continue after. So now if any of these cases don't happen, all we do is now we just want to push back the value into the vector. Push back operations at array. If none of these push back operations at array I, if none of these are if none of these are true. So now to show you that this works, we're going to do a for each loop. So for cd string, or cd string, I'm just call it character within new points. Std cout character followed by a space. So this should output 5, 10, and 15. Hopefully this is right. Yep, 5, 10, and 15. So these are still technically strings. They aren't it isn't they aren't integers. So within this same for each loop, we're going to say this is when these two come in handy right here, the vector of integer called points. We're going to call in points dot pushback, hopback, pushback, calling the function stoi string to int the current character. And now we're going to print out within here int for int num within points std cout num followed by a space. Now if we run this again, we get 5, 10, and 15, but these are now integers. These aren't strings like before. And I can show you guys by creating another for each loop for int num within points game sum plus equals num std cout game sum, and then we're going to print out game sum. And if we run this, we should get 30. Here we go. Game sum is 30. So essentially, this is the same process we have to do within our class solution. So I'm just going to go over this quickly just to show y'all that it works. So we're going to need new points. Sorry, std vector std string points. C vector int points, and then int game sum. This has to be initialized to 0. So here we're going to do a for loop again. We can just copy, honestly, we can just copy all of this. So this is the same. And then here, what we want to do is create a for each loop. So for std string ch within new points. Points. Actually, I think what we could do is game sum instead of doing all that extra stuff. Game sum plus equals stoi um, current ch, current character, and then we just return game sum for them. Game sum. So um, we don't need this other vector. So I'm going to call in solution here. Let me just delete all of this real quick. And then we're going to say game sum is equal to solution dot calculate points. And then we're going to pass in operations and then cd cout uh, game game sum game sum. Let's run this. I think this should just work. Yep, 30. There we go. 30. So let me copy this and then put it into here. And if we run it, it should work. Yep, passed all three cases. And then we submit it. Judging. There we go. Analyze complexity. Let's see. Big O of N. Could have done it better. It's fine. So yeah, that's essentially how this problem works.